Hello there. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different with our clicker game, in which we're going to make it easier to add buildings and make the code overall better so we can add more features later on. So first thing we want to do is take everything in our script event and delete it. If you're a little hesitant to do that, you can just create a new file and just keep it in there in case you ever want to go back. So first things first, we're going to make a variable for our game and our game object. So do var game equals squiggly, squiggly, semicolon. And then inside those, we're going to do score 0. That's all you have to do. So what this is going to do, is going to do something we can do this. Alert. Let's make this a lowercase g. Alert game.score. So if we ran this, it would tell us 0. So basically what an object is, it's just basically a filing cabinet in order to group things together that are alike. So it's like a filing cabinet, so we put the filing cabinet and then the thing we want to get, which is score. So if I did something like this, like if we made another one, total score, which would be the score, like their all-time score. In order to have more than one value, what you have to do is you have to put a comma after each line, which is about, but you don't put it on the last one because there's nothing below it. So whenever there's something below it, there should be a comma at the end of it. So if we want to say, oh, let's alert the total score, and look at that, it says 0. And let's say if we changed it to 100, you can see it would change that to 100, which is kind of what we want. We can set this back to 0, and so on. So let's make some more variables in our filing cabinet. What do we need in our game? Well, I want to be able to track how many times the user has clicked our clicker. So total clicks, set that to 0. And then I want the click value, which is 1. And then version, which will be just be 000. Okay. That's all that. Now, I want to be able to add to the score. So we could do another comma, and then a function add to score. It's going to be a function with the amount as the index. So functions are basically similar as like it would be something like this normally. You just define functions in a different way. So you put what you want the function name, and then semicolon, and then function, and then if you want any parameters, you can put it in there. And let's do this. Now, in order to add to the score, we could do game.score plus equals amount, but you can't do that. Instead, you would do this. So what this does is it takes whatever filing cabinet this in, so it's just basically saying, hey, I want to add to this score. You have to have the this whenever editing one of these variables. Let's do that for total score. This dot total score plus equals amount. Okay, and then that is it. We're going to add one more thing, which is going to be display update score. So then we'll make another variable object, and we'll name it display. So this is going to do everything with the screen. And then we'll do update score function. And then in here we'll do something like this. Document.get element by ID. And the ID is score.enter HTML equals game.score. And then document.title equals game.score plus, and then whatever you want it. Okay. Now when we go to here, all we need to do is do a game.add to score and then parentheses game.click value. And then we can try it. You can see it's not working. which is exactly what we want. Okay. Now, now we need to add buildings. In order to do that, we'll just do var building equals that. So we're going to make another object, which is var building this time. And then we're going to have, so what does each building need? Each building needs to have a name, an image, a cost, and an amount. So, and then their income. So that's about 5 properties. So in order to do that, we can do name, and then we're going to do a square bracket, and then a square bracket, and then I'll explain that in a minute. And then image, square bracket, count, income, cost, and that'll be it for now. So what these things are called is they're called arrays. An array is basically a string of data. So for example, var array test equals, you don't have to write this, hello, howdy, shoot. Okay, so let's say I wanted to get the hello in the index. So it's like, yeah, a string of commands which each have an index. So all I have to do is alert array test and then 0, and it'll basically go, it's like a matrices in algebra. So it'll go, but it starts at 0. So 0 will be this, 1 will be that, and 2 will be that. So if I wanted to get hello, this will display a hello when I run the code, like so. And if I wanted to get howdy, shows howdy. And if I wanted to get shoot, it will say shoot. So all I have to do is basically edit that variable. And if I wanted to add something else, cool, and then beans. And let's say I wanted to get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I wanted to get beans and just skip howdy, or cool, I mean. You should see that. So that's kind of what an array looks like. So for our sake, we're going to add a building cursor, grandma. You can make it one line. It doesn't have to be multi-line, but just for this purpose, to make it more readable, we're going to make it multi-line. Oven. So basically, it's basically like what we had here with the objects, where I have commas after every single index. So it was like this, which we can put 0, 0, so like that, which did all of that, is that, as you see, there's commas after every index, and it's just basically saying name 0 will give me this, name 1 would give me that, name 2 would give me this. And then for the image, whatever your image names are, like so. Now you can change these to whatever you want, whatever your buildings were before. I advise you do that. So then in the income, whatever you want the building's income to be, and then for the cost, whatever you want the cost to be. And there you go. We have all this done. So once we have all that written, what we can do is we can go back and below it, and then we can do something like this. Alert building.cost.0, or building.name 0. And this should show cursor. It appears we do have an error. Building, oh, I spelled it wrong. Okay, if we go back, it should say cursor. And let's say I want to get the cursor cost. All I need to do is change the cost name 100. And let's say I wanted to get the cursor image. it'll show me the cursor image. So what I'm trying to get at is you don't have to change the number, you just have to change what you're getting to whatever you want. So the number will stay the same, but the index for like name, image, count, and income and cost won't. So let's make a new function. We'll name it purchase function, and then the index as the parameter, if I can type it right. Okay. And then in here we're going to do if game.score is greater than or equal to this.cost index. So basically, whatever I input into here is a 0, 1, or 2, 3. So if I put 0, it's going to ask if this filing cabinet is cost index of 0, so it'd be 100. So if the game score is greater than 100, then we're going to do game.score minus equals this.cost index. So what this minus equals does is basically just saying this, and you're just replacing it with that. It makes it a little bit faster. Okay, and after you're done with that, you can do this.count index plus equals 1. So another way to write plus equals 1 is you can just do plus plus. Okay, and then this dot cost index equals math.sale or ceiling this dot cost index times 1.10. Okay. So what this is doing is going to set the cost, so the cursor cost equal to cursor cost times 1.10, and then math sale just rounds it up always. So if you had like 1.10, we'll round up to 2, 1.35, round up to 2, so no matter what the decimal is, it's going to round it up. But if it's like 1.00, it's not going to round it up. Okay, and then we could do display.update score, like so. So if we refreshed and we click the salsa, so if you click the salsa, we'll just set up auto clicker. So if you click the salsa a bunch of times, you see it doesn't seem to work. That's because we don't have the function set up in the buttons yet, quite yet. So that's why it's not going to work. Okay. So up in our game, we're going to add a new variable, get score per second, and it's going to be another function. And then we're going to do something like var score per second equals 0, for I equals 0. So while I is less than building.name.length, I plus plus, and so what this does is it goes through every single index in the building.name. So it's going to go through every single one of these, and yeah. So it's going to go through every single index. So it's going to go through cursor, grandma, and oven. So basically what a for statement does is you set a variable to whatever you want, which is I, we're going to set it to 0. And it's going to execute while this statement is true. And after every time it executes, whatever is in here, it's going to execute this. So first, second, and third. So it's like an if statement, but it runs the if statement multiple times. So after this code is run, I will be 1, and if 1 is less than the building name, so if 1 is less than 3, then it's going to keep on going again. And then it's going to be 2, if 2 is less than 3, then it's going to go again. It's going to add 1, but it says, is 3 less than 3? No, so it's going to stop. So in here, we're going to do something very simple, which is var, oh wait, we have that, score per second plus equals building.income, I, which is our index, times that building.count, and then I, which is our index. Then we're going to return be score per second. And then in our display function where it says update score, we're going to do something like this. And since what return does is it basically whatever it calls it, it's going to return. So where I set equal to game.get score per second, it's going to return that variable. And we need to make sure that the ID is score per second, which it isn't, it's just score per second. Okay, which is what we want. So far everything is looking good. So what we need to do next is we need to add a way to add shop buttons. Easier way to do it just based on these variables. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new file. We're not going to save it or anything, we're just going to use it for a template, and we're going to copy this. You're going to paste it, so like this. Okay, in the onClick, what you want to do is do building.purchase, and then single quote in the parenthesis, plus building.index, or no, plus I, because that's where we're going to use our variable, because we're going to do something we're going to do something very similar to what we did here where we're going through every single building. Okay, and then so you have that, and then we can take this out, it's cursor.png or whatever your file is, and then put plus building.image, and then I plus that. Give it to that, sorry. And then right here, you need to do the same thing, plus building.name plus single quote. We could remove the span ID, we don't need that. And then plus building.cost plus single quote. And then for cursors, we can remove the ID there. Just put a span and then just do the same thing, plus building.count I plus. Okay, and then after that, we're just going to make everything one line, and then like so. Okay, and then you can copy. So after you copy it, what you can do is you can go down below the update score function and then do something like update shop function in the display object. Then after that, we could do something like this: document.get element by ID shop container dot inner HTML equals, and then set it to 2 empty quotes. Okay, so we need to go up right down to this class, and we need to add ID shop container, and that will allow us to get to that. So then, since we did that, let's create a quick function window dot unload equals function, and then we'll just put this display dot update score and display dot update shop. So what this should do is it should remove everything in the shop. Okay, now all we need to do is recreate everything. So for I equals 0, I is less than building.count or building.name.length, and then I plus plus. Then all we need to do after that is we need to document get element by ID shop container dot inner HTML plus equals, which is the same as the minus equals, just with addition. Then single quote single quote. As you can see, all these spots aren't. Yeah, basically it's how you insert stuff into a string. Like so. So it should look like that. And if I refresh, well, before I refresh, I need to go back into the purchase function and then do add display.update shop. All you need to do now is refresh, and then I can click a bunch of times, and as you can see, it is now working with all that. Next, we need to do is we need to add a saving and loading functionality to that. Alright, so let's make the saving and loading functions. So in order to do that, we can do something like this: function save game, like so, and then var game save equals that, then local storage dot set item game save json dot stringify game save, like so. So let's add the score game dot score, and then basically just add all the rest of the variables from the game score, and then click value, the version, and then building count from the building income from the building, and then building cost from the building. And then that will take care of our save game function. Let's create another function, function load game, var saved game equals json.parse local storage.get item game save, and then if local storage dot get item game save not equal null, then this. So basically this is saying we're getting the saved game, we're staring in the variable, and then we're making sure that it is not null, so the save file actually exists. Then we could do something like this: if type of saved game dot score not equal undefined game dot score equals saved game dot score. Yes. And then you're going to do that for all like the other variables, like total score, all the other. Let's not serve the version. No, let's keep the version in there. Okay. And then let's do something else. If type of saved game dot building count not equal undefined, and then for I equals 0, I is less than saved game dot building count dot length I plus plus, and then building dot count I equals saved game dot building count I. So basically this is going to make it so if you ever add any more buildings, it doesn't like totally wipe their save. So like they actually get the updates. So this will allow them to, like if you added 10 new buildings, since this isn't, no, if you had 10 more buildings, they wouldn't be in our building count, so they wouldn't edit. It would just update the ones they already have. So it's really nice. And then you're basically going to do that with all the other building variables. So kind of like copy this. I'll wait for you to copy it down. So pause the video now if you want to copy all this down. Okay. And then what we can do is actually, if you stored that save game function, just copy this function reset game and then just paste it back in. Okay. And then in the onload function, we'll do a load game. And then if we could probably get the save game, so you could copy the last two, the one that prevented the control S function default of the browser. So if you want to pause, you can copy this down again. Okay, and then what we could do is set interval function, and then we'll do 1000. So that'd be 1000 ms equals 30. This equals 1 second. Okay, and then we'll do this game.score plus equals game.get score per second, and then game.total score, game.get score per second, and then display.update score. So I feel like that should be everything. Save game, purchase the update school shop, and so yeah. Now, so we can remove all this in this variable. We could do maybe something a little bit simple in the add to score if you want to add to the total clicks. We're just gonna do this game.clicker. No, we could just do add to score, and then okay. So then, as you can see, our whole entire script is done, and if we run our game, we do have an error. On line 195, if type is game.score, game.score. That's a little strange. Let's reset the game. 195. That's very strange here. Type of saved game dot score not equal undefined. So and then game dot score equals saved game dot score. Okay, so let's try to figure this out. Okay, so I think I found the problem, which is I didn't capitalize in the game save. So if we refreshed, let's reset the game. So if I'm like clicking away, if I add to score, as you can see, that works. Okay, I'm going to show you one other thing, or show you how easy it is to add new buildings. So what I can do is if I go to my folder here, is all I need to do is find an image I want. So for this example, we'll copy a factory image, and then you can paste it in the images. So how easy it is to add a building, all you have to do is add a comma, is you just have to add one other index to the thing. And then add 1 to 0, and then add 1 to 555, or whatever you want your income to be, and whatever you want your cost to be. And then you're done. You don't need to do anything, you only need to edit this file right here. Basically on how many buildings you want. If you look at that. So you can see I forgot the Y, so I just have to change that. You can see I now have more buildings, and then as always it'll update my building count. Now we're going to move our script into a separate file because it's kind of cluttering up our main page. So in order to do that, you need to take everything in between the script tags, press Ctrl C a bunch of times to make sure you copied it, and Ctrl X to cut it or delete it, and then you're going to create a new file. You're going to File, Save As. Make sure you're in your clicker game folder, and where the index folder is, just name it main.js. And then paste everything in there, then fix your indenting if you want, but that's not necessary. Okay, we can go back into our file, and then you can remove the script tags and replace it with the script src equals, and then main.js. And then close it out with the end script. So this is going to include this file into it. It just makes separating the files a little bit easier. for like coding issues, and as you can see, it still works. Okay, then we'll make a new file. File save as main.css, and this is basically going to be the same principles as the one before. Just copy everything in the style, paste it in your CSS file, save it, and then replace the style tags with this. Link rel equals style sheet, and then href equals main.css. And if I reload it, as you can see, it looks the same, which is what we're going for. Okay, and then let's add right before the HTML, exclamation point, doc type HTML. This is just common practice for HTML to tell the browser, hey, this is an HTML page. Then we're going to add something. No, we're not going to do that. So then, there you go. So now your whole little game thing is all running, has really clean code, so you can add as many buildings you want. And this is, and our building system is going to be the one we use in the future. So we won't be reprogramming anything at this current point in time. As you can see, it works. It works really nicely. It has really clean code. You can add as many buildings you want. Really, it is all up to you, and you can do whatever you want. So, thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing and liking the video. It means really a lot to me. And next tutorial, we're going to go over how to add upgrades to the game. So you can, like, once you get a certain amount of cursors, you can upgrade your cursors to do double the income or something along those lines. So, yeah. See you.